So to continue my discography, next we have Crystal Castles 2, also known as Crystal Castles self-titled. I've seen it a couple different ways, but yeah, one of my favorite groups. We're on their shirt right now. Yeah, one of my favorite groups of all time. Alrighty, then we have Crystal Castles 3. This is actually a pretty close contender to in my top 5 favorite albums. The only reason why it didn't quite make my top 5 is because I have to be kind of in a specific mood for this album. I can't always just listen to this album in the middle of the daylight when it's sun shining. It's a pretty dark and depressing album. Now, it is one of my favorite albums of all time, and I get a really cool vibe from it, and it is absolutely one of my favorites, but almost made my top 5, probably could be, but just not quite. So, anyways. And then, of course, next we got, I actually haven't seen this band around in a while. I think they actually broke out. But yeah, Throes of Mankind, Culture Killer. It's pretty gnarly, heavy, crossover, like death metal, hardcore type stuff going on. Alrighty. And next we have Darkthrone. Yeah, A Blaze in the Northern Sky. Classic black metal. And then some newer black metal. Deafheaven's Sunbather. Which we'll actually be seeing them here in, they'll be coming to Dallas here in about a week or so. We'll probably, me and Bailey will probably be doing a review over that. Probably be doing a concert review, so that'll be pretty interesting to see them. That'll be cool. Them and Dread Majesty. Next, we have Death's Scream Bloody Gore. It's a reissue CD that Relapse put out. One of my favorite death metal albums of all time. Absolutely. It's a classic. Then next, we have Death's Spiritual Healing. Another great album by them. I think I've said before, Death is absolutely my favorite death metal band, if not one of my favorite metal bands, and don't quite own their entire discography, although still working on it. Still working on their discography of CDs, because I enjoy every one of their CDs. Next we have Deep Purple, Machine Head. Classic rock and roll. And then next we have Deftones, Koino Yokan. This was also going to be pretty close on my list of top 5 favorite albums. Almost there, didn't quite make it, probably top 10. I've listened to this album. Yeah, I think definitely one of the most listened to albums on my Spotify as well. One of the most listened to albums I've ever listened to. So yeah, another amazing album. Alright. Next we have Death Grips, The Money Store. And Devourment, Unleash the Carnivore. Pretty hard CD to come by. I found it at a used bookstore, oddly enough. CD actually cost me quite a bit of money. The CD was like $45 to get it. Sounds like a ripoff, but that's actually what it goes for on Amazon, eBay. So I guess it's like a pretty rare CD. Devourment's a brutal death metal band from Dallas, Texas, and they're like known for being one of the bigger slam bands in the world. I think they're pretty world renowned. See them in metal festivals all over. But yeah. All right, next we have Discharge. Hear Nothing, See Nothing, Say Nothing. Great punk band. Not the biggest punk band or punk fan. Sorry, not the biggest punk fan per se. I do like a handful of punk bands, but it's not my favorite genre. But I will say this is a damn good record that they put out back in the day. Then next we have Dismembers, Like an Ever-Flowing Stream. The Swedes, they know death metal. They do everything perfect. Almost. Just about. Pretty comparable to some of the US death metal that's come out. But yeah, one of my favorite death metal albums of all time too. That album right there. Next I have The Doors' first album. Jim Morrison is one of my favorite vocalists, musicians, poets of all time. frontman, I guess you could say, one of my favorites of all time. Very interesting person, had a very interesting take on life, had very interesting performances, and was pretty far ahead of his time as far as some of the stuff they had to say. So, yeah. Next is The Drip, a presentation of Gruesome Poetics. Pretty cool grindcore band I found recently on the Relapse Records. Yeah, just really cool, just really solid grind. Pretty punchy grind too. You listen to it, there's some pretty. There's quite a bit of a punch to it. And then their follow album, The Haunting Fear of Inevitability. Pretty haunting record, to be honest. Some of the lyrics are pretty nihilistic and dark, as most grindcore is, but it's good. It's a good album. Also, that band is really cool. They have like dive bombs and all kinds of cool solos and stuff in their album, so it's not like straight up grindcore. They kind of throw in elements of other stuff, but yeah, really cool. Next is Dying Fetus, Reign Supreme. Probably my absolute favorite death grind album. Just got some of the slammiest breakdowns, some of the best solos I've ever heard in a death metal album. And then, of course, John Gallagher, their vocalist / guitar player. He does all of that. It's just 3 members of that band. And that band sounds like there could be 5 members, but there's only 3, and they just slam. And it is awesome. So, yeah. Moving on. Stuff around. Oh, sorry about that. Lost the camera. Okay, so next we have Dying Fetus. Their follow-up album after not writing music for quite some time. Wrong One to Fuck With. This album took a bit of time to grow on me. As I said before, there was quite a bit of praise on. I had quite a bit of. I loved Reign Supreme quite a bit. Took me a while to get used to that album because I wasn't. It obviously sounded different because it's a new album, you know. It took me a little bit of time to grow on it, but that album is pretty heavy and it slams pretty hard too. Yeah, just a little bit different production style than that last album for sure, though. All right, next is Electric Wizard's Black Masses. One of my favorite doom bands. I'm not really the biggest fan of doom metal, to be quite honest. I like Acid Witch and I like a handful of other bands, but Electric Wizard is one of those bands that I just really enjoy. I think I know people who aren't even that big of a fan of doom metal and really appreciate that band because they just have their own sound. Next is Time to Die, which is my favorite album that they've ever done. So yeah, there's that. Both great albums. Very dark and gloomy. Alright, next we have Exodus, Bona by Blood. This is like an alternative artwork. Found this at a used store. Yeah, used CD store. Had that on there. But yeah, cool thrash metal. Next we have Exhumed's Anatomy is Destiny. I love Exhumed. I love Matt Harvey and a lot of his projects. Gruesome and some other stuff that he's done. Can't think of it off the top of my head, but yeah. Genius musician. I love that album. But I love this album even more. Next album, Necrocracy. This one and Reign Supreme from Dying Fetus are close contenders for my favorite death grind albums, but I might even say this one over, maybe. I don't know. Both amazing. Came out at around somewhat the same time. Yeah. It kicks, it punches. It is pretty awesome. For a death grind and death metal album, it is pretty sweet. Guitars and everything sound good. Next, Fit for an Autopsy's Hellbound. This is one of my most listened to albums of 2015. I think it came out in 2014. But yeah, I listened to that album quite a bit. One of my favorite death metal albums of all time. Then to follow it up, their Next album, The Process of Human Extermination. Actually, that was their first album, sorry. That was right before that. Also, really good from them. Not quite as refined, still a little bit more primitive version of them, but just really heavy death metal. Very, very fast, brutal. Everything you'd want from death metal. If you like death metal, check it out. Deathcore type stuff. So if you like some of the heavier. Next we got Full of Hell, Roots of Earth Are Consuming My Home. This is earlier Full of Hell. I really enjoy it. Lots of really very interesting stuff going on with that band. And then next is Trumpeting Ecstasy, one of my favorite albums of 2017 as well. Pretty awesome album. Really interesting noise, grind band. Seen them a few times. Very, very interesting is all I can say about them. Really interesting and cool. I enjoy them.